What's up, guys? Welcome into the After Review podcast with Austin Krewalt. That's me, your host. So, yeah, let's go ahead and hit it. I got a lot of topics I want to discuss this week. We got everything from the Packers and the Vikings, Buffalo Bills and the Rams. I'm going to do this last. I'm going to at the end of the podcast, I'm going to do the last call segment. We're going to discuss three players and three coaches who are maybe not on the hot seat, but they definitely have something to prove this year. So yeah, let's roll with it, guys. Thank you for joining me. Whoever's joining me live, I see that I got someone on there. But yeah, thank you for joining me live. Let's go ahead and hit it. So first off, let's start with the Thursday game. Josh Allen's a man, 6'5", 250. I heard a lot of guys say this. He might not be the best quarterback in the league, but I think he's the most talented quarterback in the league. You know, we watched him pretty much just run over a linebacker. That's just incredible to watch. I think the Bills are going to be it this year. I'm picking the Bills to win the Super Bowl right off the bat. I think they're the most complete team. I think they're the hungriest team. Their defense has been shored up. That's been a huge issue to them in the past. I think Josh Allen, if he can get over that inconsistency that he can have. Remember that game in Jacksonville that the other Josh Allen, I think the Jacksonville's, I don't think he was a rookie. I think he was a second year player. But their defensive lineman sacked him 2-3 times, maybe picked him off a couple times. But that guy had an MVP like performance just for the one game. But yeah, if Josh Allen can get over just get over that small bit of inconsistency, he's going to be fantastic. But yeah, like I said, I think the Bills are going to win the Super Bowl, man. I think they're the best team. I think they're the most complete team. I think Gabriel Davis, their wide receiver number 2, is finally coming to his own, and he's been awesome. You know, watching him, he absolutely dominated the Rams defense. He found a lot of holes in their coverage. Let's go and hit the Rams. They got issues. I don't think this is an overreaction to say that they got issues. You know, their offensive line does not look good. Matt Stafford, for whatever he was doing, I don't know if you guys saw that little sidearm pass that he tried to do to Cooper Kupp and ended up getting intercepted. There's no need to be cute, man. Just stay in the pocket, deliver your throws. Matt Stafford looked terrible. I don't think, I don't think that's indicative of the rest of their season, but there needs to be a serious conversation with him. I know that he had elbow surgery in the off season. I know that, or I don't know if he had elbow surgery or not. But I know, he had something going on with his arm, that, there was kind of an inconsistency issue there, but there's no need to be cute, man. You're not playing the Jags. You're not playing the Texans, who actually, I'll say this, they both of those team looks pretty decent. Even a team like the New York Giants, who a lot of people just wrote off. I mean, they beat the Tennessee Titans. We're going to hit that later, but you're not playing some 4-13 team, man. Just complete the ball. Get the ball to your wide receivers, get the ball to your playmakers. You're not Josh Allen, you're not Patrick Mahomes. I know that, before they were, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, you were the guy. One of the more talented players in the league. But just stand in the ball, just stand in the pocket, deliver the ball where you're supposed to. Their offensive line does not look good. They have problems. Their offensive line does not look good at all. Allen Robinson, I mean, what happened there? I mean, he had a garbage time target, late in the game, and I think he had another target. I think he had 2 targets the entire game. Allen Robinson was one of the better wide receivers. He's a very capable wide receiver too, in my opinion, but we didn't get any production from him. Ironically, the guy who I'm playing fantasy this week, or played in fantasy, I won. Actually had Cam Akers, so that's a W for me. It's a W for me, boys. But yeah, so Rams, I mean, that's not good. You got to see more from a Super Bowl winning team. I know they kind of caught fire at the end of last year. I don't think they caught lightning in the bottle, personally. I think Sean McVay is a good head coach, and I think he will get them back to where they need to be. But I don't see them repeating as Super Bowl champions. I'm going to skip a couple games. I don't have much to say about the Ravens and the Jets. There's been some things that came out that apparently, I think Lamar Jackson said that he turned down a 6-year, $290 million deal with $160 million guaranteed. Let me just say this: he should have taken the deal, man. He should have just taken that deal. I think he's crazy to play on the 5th-year deal that he's on right now. I think he's insane to play on that. If it was me, I know I'm not an NFL player by any far stretch of the imagination, But if it was me, I would not be playing. I think that's why you have an agent. With a guy like Lamar Jackson, the backstory, he was in contract negotiations last year. He's in contract negotiations again, and they stopped right before the season started. And he said, I'm going to trust him to get the deal done. You're not going to get Deshaun Watson money, nor should you. Just because, I think I said this last podcast, just because the Browns, who are, for the record, I mean, a dumpster fire of an organization. They've almost never had success. They've been continually bad. Sorry to all the Browns fans, but they're terrible. They're bad. And just because let's say I go to the car lot, put down $100,000 for a 2021 Ford Toyota 4Runner. Well, if they sell it to me for $100,000 and the car's worth 44, why should the next guy come and have to pay $100,000 for a vehicle that's only worth 44,000? It doesn't make sense. The Lamar Jackson they don't need to expect Deshaun Watson money. He got what, 233, 231, 236, 230 something million dollars guaranteed. Like, you're not going to get that money, nor should you. We're going to reset the entire quarterback market again and again and again. And, most of the time the quarterback market resets and goes up, a few million dollars, as it should. Well, they're paying Deshaun Watson a stupid amount of money. Just because they make a bad decision doesn't mean a team in their division needs to make a bad financial decision as well. It doesn't make sense. Not only that, I love Lamar Jackson. I think he's a great guy. I think he's way too much of a nice guy to be making a good decision. But the Ravens should not have to pay him Deshaun Watson money. That's just out of the realm of common sense. The Jets, they're screwed. They're starting Joe Flacco. I think for the next 3 weeks, I think Zach Wilson is out until week 4. I mean, I don't know what to say there, honestly. I think they're in a bad situation. And I think Robert Saleh is probably going to lose his head coaching job, either this year, at the end of this year, or next year. I think they'll probably give him one more year, but they definitely got some problems up there in New York. But let's go and hit the Los Angeles Chargers and the Las Vegas Raiders. Davante Adams, man, still solid, still a great wide receiver, still arguably one of the best wide receivers in the game. I think he's number 1 right now, but also think he was number 1 because he had the best quarterback in the league. What else can you say about Justin Herbert? Guys making some incredible passes. I watched about half of that game. I don't have too much to say about it, but just saying, Justin Herbert looked phenomenal. Justin Herbert is continuously just top-notch player. I think he finishes top 3-4 in the league this year. Inarguably top 3-4 quarterback. I know that he was top 5 last year. It's pretty. Moving up a spot. Let's say you're the 5th best quarterback last year, and you're the 3rd best quarterback this year. The guys that you're beating out are. It's not like you're just beating out Trevor Lawrence to be a top 10 quarterback. You're not beating out Derek Carr. You're not beating out Russell Wilson even. You're beating out guys who are Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen. So if you can jump up one of those spots, I think by the end of the year, I think he moves up a spot ahead of Aaron Rodgers. I think Aaron Rodgers is going to drop just because of the rookie wide receivers. And I think he's better than, at the end of the year, it's Josh Allen and or Patrick Mahomes, number 1. I think you go 1A, 1B with them. And then I think it's Justin Herbert. I think that's your 1, 2, 3. I think by the end of the year, you kind of, all right, Aaron Rodgers, top 4, top 5, top 6, somewhere in that range. But I think, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, and then Justin Herbert, they're going to be number 1, 2, and 3. The Raiders, didn't have much to say with them. Derek Carr's just got to not throw picks, man. You have a cast of, supporting players around you. Hunter Renfrow is one of the best slot receivers in the game right now. Their tight end, Darren Waller, is fantastic. He's one of the best pass catching tight ends. I think you have Travis Kelce and Darren Waller, number 1, number 2 for the best pass catching tight ends. I know Mark Andrews is really good for the Baltimore Ravens. And then, of course, you have Davante Adams. And Josh Jacobs is pretty good. He's a great. I think he's a solid. I don't think he's a superstar, but I think he's a very solid running back. So I think you just got to not turn the ball over. Get the ball in your hands of your playmakers. Their connection looks great as ever. I think by the end of the first drive that they had, they kicked a field goal at the end of that drive. I think Devontae Adams had 3 receptions for 54 yards, 55 yards, something like that. Excuse me. I don't know if anyone likes these, but the seltzer waters are fantastic. But not to hopefully when they get sponsorship, that'd be pretty sick. But no, I think the Raiders are going to be good. I'm going to hit on them a little later when I start talking about the Broncos. I can't wait to talk about the Broncos and Seahawks. I've got that one geared up, ready in my back pocket. But I think the Raiders are going to be good, man. I think they're going to be solid. Josh McDaniels, they did some creative things on that offense that I actually really, really liked. So I'm interested to see what happens. Let's go ahead and hit some other games. I'm going to skip over games. I don't have much to say about the Jags Commanders. Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz is talented. That's never been a question with Carson Wentz. That's never ever been a question with Carson Wentz. Everyone knows he's talented. He's big, he's strong, he's a little injury prone. But the last two teams, I'll say this about Carson Wentz: the last two teams are going to get him out of the building fast enough. So I think that says a lot. If the last two teams that they're doing everything they can. I mean, Howie Roseman, he couldn't get him out of the building fast enough. Pretty much threw him under the bus for the Eagles. And then, oh man, I can't remember Jim Irsay for the Colts. How much can you crap on the guy? He blamed Carson Wentz for the. I'll say this. I'm going to say this really quickly. He blamed Carson Wentz for the complete, like the shambles that their season turned into. How much you blame your head coach, man? What's your head coach won? I understand that he hasn't had good quarterbacks. He doesn't have great quarterback play. I'll say this. Frank Reich, you got to do something, man. You got to do something. And you sit there and harp on, he doesn't have a good quarterback. He doesn't have a quarterback. Yeah, Kyle Shanahan made it to the Super Bowl and the NFC Championship with Jimmy freaking Garoppolo. And I would say, I think Jimmy Garoppolo is a better quarterback than Carson Wentz, just at the end of the day. I think he's a better, let me say this. I don't think he's a more talented quarterback. I think he plays better within the confines of their offense. But at some point, man, he's an offensive head coach. You got to do something. You had Philip Rivers, you made the playoffs, you lost pretty much immediately. You had Carson Wentz, couldn't make the playoffs. At some point, when is it not on the quarterback, and when is it on the head coach? That's all I'm saying about Frank Reich. I think he's had plenty enough time to prove that he's actually a great offensive coordinator. That he's not offensive coordinator, but he's a great offensive mind. I haven't seen it. Doesn't really ring a lot of bells for me to hand the ball off to Jonathan Taylor, let him get, a 1,600, 1,700, 1,800 yards of rushing. That doesn't, that's good for you. You make the right decision. Let's go in the Patriot Dolphins. I think the Patriots are some serious trouble. I think the Patriots are, they're up a tree without a ladder right now. Why would, I'm not claiming to know more than Bill Belichick, but why would you not go get a good offensive coach? You have two guys who are pretty much, a clown show. They ran, New York could not get Joe Judge out of there fast enough. And the Lions, man, Matt Patricia, I don't know if anyone remembers that, but he was telling reporters to sit up straight in their chairs when he looks like a homeless dude, disheveled mess. Come on, man. Let's not be a fraud. But Detroit couldn't get him out of there fast enough. New York couldn't get Joe Judge out of there fast enough. And that's who your offensive line and your offensive coordinator coach are. At some point, man, I understand, he's the greatest coach of our era. He's the greatest coach ever. But I think the writing's on the wall. I think after this season, I don't know if I don't think he's going to get fired. I think he's way too much equity, that organization, to get fired. But I think he moves to a different role. Perhaps he moves to like an official GM role. They actually hire a head coach. I'll say this: I don't know if I would want Bill Belichick as my GM. He's had a terrible track record drafting wide receivers. I mean, who was their wide receiver that they drafted? Who was just I can't remember his name, but they drafted that wide receiver a couple years ago, um, and he was a great blocking wide receiver, and that's about all he was good for. Obviously, the name will come to me later, but N'Keal Harry. Yeah, they drafted N'Keal Harry. Great, blocking wide receiver. Yeah, you know what I pay a wide receiver to do is catch the football. Sorry, yikes. Um, but yeah, I've drafted a wide receiver to catch the football, not to block a linebacker coming down on a blitz. Just get out of here, man. Mike McDaniel's for the Dolphins. I thought some of what they did was cute, man. Thought what some of they was cute. I still don't think Tua is the guy. I still don't think that. I could be very wrong after this season, but I'll say this, man. And when I say, do I think Tua is the guy, is do I think they get to the playoffs? Sure. I think they could probably get to the playoffs. I think they could be a wild card team. We'll see. Um, think about the teams that but I'll say this, think about the teams that you're competing with in the AFC. Um, I'm gonna go, just let's hit division winners. Josh Allen, the Bills, division winner. So we got 7 teams. So you got Josh Allen, AFC West. I'm gonna go the Chiefs. I think the Chiefs are just gonna win the division. They're just gonna be good, man. AFC South, I think the Titans are gonna win that division. I know they just lost, but it's hard to be. It's week 1, man. And then the AFC North, I think the Ravens win that division. So there's your four teams. The wild card teams, Bengals, and then I could go the Chargers, and then we're looking for one more wild card teams. Are the Miami Dolphins better than the Raiders? That's the question I have. Are the Miami Dolphins better than the Raiders? The only thing that might give them is that they could beat up on the New York Jets, and they could probably they could sweep the Patriots and they could sweep the Jets. That's 4 division wins right there. I think that's the only thing that could save them. And I think if they're going to make the playoffs, I think they're going to have to sweep those 2 teams because I tell you what, the Bills are going to kick their butt. Up, down, left, right, up the field. I feel like the Bills are probably going to win 14, 15 games at the end of the season. And I think the only reason they'll drop a couple games is not because they're the worst team. They're not as good as the team that they're playing. I think it's because they're not going to try. I think if you have a great team, you're going to drop a couple games here and there. But I don't know if the Miami Dolphins, I mean, they can make the playoffs theoretically, but who are they going to beat out? Who are they better than? And if they get to the playoffs, I mean, they do some cute offensive things, but are they really better than the Raiders? Are they better than I mean, they're not. They're definitely not better than. I say this. I'm not high on the Broncos, but they're definitely not better than the Chargers. The Chargers would dog walk them. They're definitely not better than the Chiefs. I mean, by God, I mean the Chiefs would beat them by 35 points. I could see that game easily being, 42-7 at the end of the game. I think the Chiefs would absolutely crush them. I just don't think Tua is the guy. I think his comp, kind of has been Drew Brees. The chances of, Tua Tagovailoa being Drew Brees are slim to none. He's not the same guy. Just let him be Tua. So I think, and I say this as I was talking to a couple friends last night. I think what tells is more telling than anything else is why, like if they think he's the guy, why have they tried to get rid of him so many times? I mean, they about sold the farm for Deshaun Watson. And they were talking to Tom Brady last year. So if they don't believe he's the guy, why should I believe he's the guy? But that said, let's just continue. Let's just roll in. Colts and Texans, man. Matt Ryan looked old. I don't know what that's gonna spell, but Matt Ryan, man, he did not look good. I say that he looked old. He didn't look good. Well, up until like the midway through the third quarter, he started playing really well. I'm interested to see what happens there. I think there could be a playoff team, but I don't know. It's hard to tell week 1. Texans, man, I know Davis Mills. I don't know if the organization necessarily believes in him, but I see talent there, and I mean he's a smart guy, Stanford grad. Um, I see talent. That's all I'm going to say. I see talent. I see the possibility of actually doing something. Eagles and Lions. Let's go and hit that real quick. man, it's really hard to get hyped about the Lions. I'm a Packers fan. I got all this Packers gear right here. It's hard to get hyped about the Lions. I think they could actually be pretty decent this year. I think they could win 7, 8 games. I think it's just going to be hard for them just to be great in that division. I think at the end of the day, you're going to have that Packers and Aaron Rodgers. They're going to find a way to win 10, 11 games. I think they have a winning championship DNA. Um, the Vikings, I see the Vikings. I don't know if I'm going to pull back yet and see the Vikings could win the division, and this is not going to be an overreaction where I'm going to freak out and say the Vikings are going to win the division. But I think that they could be very viable. I think at the end of the day, it's going to come down to the last 2 weeks of who's going to win that division. But yeah, I mean, I think you're going to have so much talent, and the other two teams in the division. Now, Bears, I know they beat the San Francisco 49ers. I still think they're going to be terrible. You're playing in a monsoon. It's very hard to get. I'm not going to give an evaluation on Trey Lance. I'm not going to give an evaluation on Justin Fields. I'll say this: Justin Fields looked like the more talented quarterback, and I think that's inarguable to say. The guy came from Ohio State. He came from Georgia, Ohio State. He is 6'4", 6'5" ish. 235. He's a big dude. I think that's something that's kind of undervalued about Justin Fields is he actually is a big guy. And in the NFL, just big bodies succeed. If you're a bigger dude, it's just easier for you to succeed because you're not going to get hurt. Longevity is a real thing in the NFL. But I'm going to wait to evaluate the Eagles and count Jalen Hurts. It's really hard to want to give an evaluation on them week one. They're such an unknown commodity. I'll say this. I pretty much think, as crazy as this sounds, I think they got division locked up now. Dak Prescott, as a matter of fact, let's talk about that. Dak Prescott, the Cowboys are screwed. Hope Rush is a good backup quarterback because they are screwed big time. Mike McCarthy, man, you better pull some out of your butt or he is on the fast track to lose his job. I don't think I'm not one of the people who think Mike McCarthy was the village idiot when he was with the Packers, but all I gotta say, man, is that they, I get it. The Kyle Shanahan offense is great for Aaron Rodgers, but Aaron Rodgers won back-to-back MVPs. We won 39 games in the last 3 years. How we haven't had much success in the playoffs, but you know what? A lot of teams don't. We went 2-3 in the playoffs. It is what separates the great quarterbacks from, legendary quarterbacks. But I definitely think Matt LaFleur, has at least a better offensive scheme. There's been a lot of upgrades since Matt LaFleur's been the head coach compared to Mike McCarthy. Defense is looking better, and that's, I get it. That's, he's not the defensive play caller, Matt LaFleur isn't, but it's got to start somewhere. But Mike McCarthy, I think he's in some serious trouble right now. If they win 6 games, they didn't look good before Dak Prescott got hurt, so they're not going to look good at all. Their offensive line is a huge problem. CeeDee Lamb, you got to catch some more balls in that, man. I watched 2 or 3 drops that he had bounce right off his hands. That's an issue. That's a very serious issue right now. So that said, I think the Eagles got the division locked up. I don't really have too much for the Browns and the Panthers beyond, man, I am very happy. It made me chuckle. Like Baker Mayfield's not good. I love, oh man, I love being right about stuff. I absolutely love being right about things. And I said a while ago, I think Baker Mayfield I just don't think he's that great. I will say this, I kind of took the Browns to win, I took the Panthers to win week 1. I was kind of like, man, Baker Mayfield could come and play pretty well, in a revenge game. I was wrong. I was wrong big time. I was wrong big time about that one. We had 3 big players, the 3 players that really kind of were talk about coming for revenge games. Zadarius Smith was playing against the Packers. There's some stuff that came out. I think he's just an overreaction. I think the only thing bigger than Zadarius Smith's ego is Zadarius Smith. He's a big dude. But man, that was pretty funny. I'll give him that. Myles Garrett is a man. That's a beast. I think by the end of the year, he'll be the best player, the best defensive player in the NFL. I think he's finally going to knock off that spot from Aaron Donald. I say this, so let's go ahead and actually, I want to talk about this next. Former NFL Defensive Player of the Year last year, and T.J. Watt, man, that sucks. That sucks. That kills your whole season right there. Any chance that you had to get the season going in momentum, your best pass rusher, arguably, top 2, 3 pass rusher in the NFL, tied Michael Strahan's sack record with 22 and a half sacks last year. They're in some big trouble. That's really the way their defense runs, is they have a lot of great pieces, but man, you have Minka on the back end, and then you have TJ Watt just torturing quarterbacks on the front end. And now all of a sudden, I mean, they have a good defensive line with or without him, but TJ's the playmaker, and it looks like he tore his pec or something. I'm very interested to see what happens with that. I haven't really got any news. I haven't checked any news yet with that. But that's a huge issue for them. That is a huge, huge issue. And I just feel bad for the Steelers. Feel bad for Mike Tomlin. Feel bad for TJ Watt. He's an upstanding dude. Outstanding, incredible player. But that's a huge issue for them right now. So that said, I think it's time to put Kenny Pickett in, ride the season. I don't. I say this. A couple years ago, as Kenny Pickett's going to get. I'm not. Let me rephrase this. Kenny Pickett is as ready as Kenny Pickett is going to get. He has had, in-game snaps. By God, how many more NFL? In-game snaps has he had more than Trey Lance? Than even a guy. You're talking about a guy, like Baker Mayfield, fifth-year starter. Played 3 different places. He's as ready as he's going to get. Mac Jones, there's a wide gap between Mac Jones and Kenny Pickett for the amount of starts that they got in college. So just play the kid. Put the kid in there and ride or die with the guy that you drafted in the first round. He wasn't a first round talent. Everyone knew that. And you picked him up. You got him in the first round. So ride with your boy. Talking about let's ride, I'm so excited to talk about this game. I've always been I like Russell Wilson as a player. I think he's just a weird dude, man. He's just a cheesy guy. And I don't know if some of you guys caught that video of him running out from the practice facility, and he's like fake high-fiving people. And when I say fake high-fiving people, they don't even exist. The people aren't even there. He's got his hands out and he's running. Yesterday he was standing in the middle of the field with his eyes closed, like just soaking in the moment. The dude's just weird, man. The dude is just strange. And the best thing about this is they lost. They lost. And these are all right. I'll give my biggest takeaway from the Broncos and the Seahawks game, man. You know what's crazy about this? The Seahawks looked well coached. The Broncos didn't look like the Broncos looked like an NBA team. They look like a player-led organization. Sloppy as crap. Ton of penalties. I watched the whole game. I was driving home from Charlotte last night, listening to the game when I got home. I watched the rest of it, pretty much the entire fourth quarter. I don't remember how many yards they had, but I knew by the middle of the third, late third quarter, they had over 100 yards of penalties. They gifted the Seahawks 100 yards of penalties. You know how many of those turned into first downs? A lot of them. Now, I think it was like 3 or 4 that are, false start penalties, automatic 5 yards. So that's 20 yards off the board right there. So you're talking, and I watched, I think there was 2 or 3 that were pass interference, perhaps. I think there was one that was roughing the passer. Man, you got to get off the field. But is Nate Hackett just going to be the guy all of a sudden? Is Nate Hackett going to come in there and change that organization? Nate Hackett, Russell Wilson, he said he wanted a partnership. So if you want a partnership with Nate Hackett, and I love getting fired up about this stuff because I think it's hilarious. Russell Wilson wanted to be the guy. Russell Wilson wants to be the guy. And he wants the same voice and the same control as guys like Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, and Peyton Manning. You know what? You know who's on a different level than Russell Wilson? Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, and Peyton freaking Manning. Peyton Manning has 5 MVPs. Aaron Rodgers has 4 MVPs. Tom Brady has God knows how many Super Bowls. And I think he's got 3 MVPs and 7 Super Bowls. And 4 of those are Super Bowl MVPs. dude, dude, you're not on the same level of those guys. And it's not because you were held back by your coach. Because you know what? The Seahawks looked well coached last night. Now, I get it. That is Pete's probably Super Bowl. That is Pete's biggest game of the year. And he came out there, he knew everything about Russell Wilson. He knew exactly how he played. But the Seahawks looked really well coached. Geno Smith played very well, under control. Um, he excelled within his system. And that's all you can ask a guy like Geno Smith to do. But the Seahawks looked well coached. Pete had them boys ready to go. Pete had them ready. And the Broncos, again, I get it. First year head coach. Matter of fact, there you go. I misspoke earlier. I said I'm pretty sure all the first year head coaches won. I was wrong. Nate Hackett lost. Thank you. I get it. He came from Green Bay. I'm a big Green Bay guy. But and this is more about Russell Wilson than is more about Nate Hackett. But the Seahawks, they looked ready to go. They looked like they were ready to play. And they played physical on defense. Their special teams was awesome. And their offense was good. Their offense was passable. They did the right things. They made the right reads. The play calling was really good. I loved their play calling on offense. But it was safe, conservative without being boring. Or actually, let me rephrase this. It was it was boring and safe without being super conservative. So that was the nice thing is they got yards. But what also happened is there's so many penalties on the Broncos. They just kept getting free yards, just keep going up the field. But that's the big thing that I saw with the Broncos. It's, dude, you want a player-led organization, you want a player-led team, go play in the NBA. That's not how the NFL works, bro. I mean, is Russell Wilson so egocentric and about Russell Wilson that he wants to be in charge? Dude, you're not Peyton Manning. You're not even Aaron Rodgers. So, like, in that league, you have Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, and Aaron Rodgers. Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers has won Super Bowl. He's been to one. I get it. Russell Wilson's been to 2 Super Bowls. He doesn't have any MVPs. He's never gotten a single vote. Aaron Rodgers has 4 MVPs. And you got to give Aaron Rodgers this credit, is he's been to 5 NFC championships now. But Russell Wilson is in the same stratosphere as Aaron Rodgers. And he thinks he wants to be the guy. That's awesome. Be the guy. But they looked sloppy. They looked like they were not in control. They were not in control. They had 3 red zone turnovers, I think. Either it was 2. Yeah, they were 0-3 in the red zone. I think one of those was just a 4th down stop. I might be wrong. But they had 2 fumbles in the red zone. I mean, by God, Nate, work on some ball security drills with your players. It's not like you're going to go up against a Legion of Boom here. You're going up against a Pete Carroll-led defense, which is got to give them credit. The boys were ready. They were good defense. But work on some ball security drills, man. I loved every minute of that game. I loved absolutely every minute of that game because that shows like what works in the NFL. And Russell Wilson knows what works in the NFL. Like, guess who got him that Super Bowl? It was not him. It wasn't. He's a second-year player. It's not like he's throwing 42 touchdowns and 10 picks that year. He was a talented player. He was a good player. He really helped get them to their second Super Bowl, which they lost. But Pete Carroll, man. Pete Carroll in that defense got him there. Pete Carroll won in college. Pete Carroll wins in the NFL. And it's a collaboration. I get it. It's kind of a collaboration between the two players, between the coach and the player. But man, let the players play and let the coaches coach. And a player-led organization, it looks exactly like that. Sloppy offense, sloppy offense, sloppy defense, turnover-prone offense. That Nate Hackett did not have them boys ready. I understand that they lost by 1 point. The Denver Broncos went into the Seahawks stadium and got manhandled. They got manhandled. And you can tell that there was a massive gap between the coaching, between Pete Carroll, and I get it. He probably might not have his NFL job by the end of this year because they just have a good division. And they might win 5 games the rest of the year. They might go 6-11. But I tell you what, they won their Super Bowl and they beat Russell Wilson. And I'll say this, man, that was one of the best parts of the night is just, watching Russell Wilson walk onto the field and the boos. Stay classy. I hate that. That's not classless. The guy pretty much, gave him the double middle fingers and left. And I get it, him and Pete needed a divorce. They needed to separate, but this is what Russell Wilson wanted. Just saying. This is what they wanted. So he got what he wanted. And he gets 2-3 turnovers and 110, 120 yards of penalties. So enjoy that, Russell Wilson. Really hope it works out for you. I just think it's funny. And you know what? And I'll say this, I think who's the better team in that division? The Chiefs, Chargers, and the Raiders. Because at the end of the day, I think Josh McDaniels is a better head coach than Nate Hackett. I mean, I think Josh McDaniels is going to have those boys ready when they play the Broncos. And if the Broncos win, it's not going to be because they are better coached. Just saying. So let's go ahead and hit that last call segment. I think I know we're a little over than we typically do. So I want to hit three quarterbacks who really have something to prove this year, and then three head coaches who have really have something to prove this year. I'm going to start off with the first tandem. Is I think the first guy is going to be Pete Carroll, as a head coach who's really got something to prove this year. Pete Carroll's resume speaks for himself, but I think he's definitely kind of on the hot seat. I think after this year, if they win 6 games, he might lose his job. And I think when I say about losing his job, I think he might get transitioned to a different role within the organization. But he's 70 years old, man. I mean, I think he turned 70 or just turned 71. At the end of the year, I think he's just old, man. He's just getting old. I think it's about time to retire for him. And when I say I think he's got something to prove, I think he's proven enough. But he wants to prove, can I win without Russell Wilson? And honestly, as much crap as I'm talking about Russell Wilson, I don't really think he can. And I don't think I don't think any head coach could really win without a good quarterback, not in that division. I think Kyle Shanahan really did well because he is Kyle Shanahan. He's a great offensive play caller. He's a great offensive schematic. He's a schematic genius. Their run zone game is just incredible to watch. It's a lot of fun to watch as an NFL fan, but I think Pete Carroll's got a lot to prove, and I think he just doesn't prove it by the end of the year. Let's go ahead and hit another coach is Robert Saleh. Robert Saleh is year 2 head coach. He's in big trouble right now. Does he make it to year 3? Is the question I'm going to ask. And I said that he probably make it to year 3. Does he make it to year 4? If he has another losing season, which is crazy as it sounds, I'm already kind of writing them off for this season. I mean, they're not better than they're not better than Miami Dolphins, and they're definitely not better than the Bills. So are they just going to lose? Are they just going to have another 4 or 5 win season? And he gets to keep his job? I don't think so. They might win 4 or 5 games this year, keeps his job. But if they do it again, they're out. He's out of there. I think that it's time for them to go find a good offensive head coach. But yeah, so I got Pete Carroll, got Robert Saleh. Man, I'll say this: there's a lot of coaches that are in a really good position. Honestly, man, I think probably the last head coach I'm going to say is Bill Belichick, and I don't think he has anything left to prove from his standpoint, but I think this is the year for him. And I'm fine with these predictions being way off. I'm sure I'm going to be way off, probably 1 or 3 for these predictions, but I think by the end of this year he loses his position as a head coach. I think he transitions to a different role within the company, or sorry, not within the company, but within the organization. And I think that pretty much wraps it up for his head coaching tenure at the New England Patriots. But let's go ahead and hit 3 quarterbacks that have something to improve. The first one I'm going to hit, I mean, it's the easy money, man. Tua Tagovailoa. You got to do something this year, man. You absolutely got to do something this year. And if he doesn't do something this year, I think he's in. I mean, they've tried to trade him several years now, several times that they have tried to get rid of him, trade him. Yeah, he's got to do something. He's got to, as a make or break a year for him. I think Mitch Trubisky for the Pittsburgh Steelers. This is a good year for him to prove it, man. Prove it. I think he made it to the playoffs twice as the Bears. Is Matt Nagy really the village idiot, or was Mitch Trubisky the guy that was kind of bringing the organization down? I think it's a little bit of both, in my opinion. But because I watched Mitch Trubisky play, I'm a Packers fan. I've watched him play 100 times. Yeah, I'm interested to see what happens with that. I think he's got a really good opportunity to prove. And I think the last but not least is Geno Smith, man. Geno Smith has got a great opportunity to come in here, play, and show that he's a hey, I'm I can be anywhere from 20 to 25. The 20th to 25th best quarterback in the NFL. I don't think he's going to crack the top 20. I just don't think that. But I think he's got a good opportunity to show, hey man, I can throw 21 touchdowns and 12 picks this year. You know, I don't think he's going to have every game is going to look like last night, but I think he can show, hey, listen, guys, like I'm not great. I'm not Aaron Rodgers, not Tom Brady. I'm not even, I'm not even, someone else in that, Derek Carr. Not even Jimmy Garoppolo, but I'm passable. And I can be the bridge guy. So hopefully, I say this, kudos to Geno Smith. I think he's a good dude. So hopefully, no, he had some incidents in New York, but hopefully, I think he can just prove to be a passable backup quarterback and hopefully get a $5.5 million check next year. But I think that's pretty much all I'm going to say for the last call segment. You got three head coaches, three players who are kind of on the hot seat or maybe got something to prove for next year. Sorry for the remainder of the season, possibly next year. But yeah, thank you guys for joining the After Review podcast. And like I said, give it as usual, just give it, 12, 13 hours, and I will download this on Spotify as well. All right, guys, you have a great day. Thank you.